Hi, in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to make this bracelet right here. This bracelet is my own original design and it is called the JBurns Butterfly Garden Bracelet. This bracelet combines two of my own original designs as well, and they are the butterfly chain bracelet and the blossoming butterfly bracelet. The links to make these bracelets here will be in the description below, or wherever the description is. I'm going to go ahead and tell you what you will need. To make this bracelet, you will need your loom, and any loom with 13 pins or more pins in each of its rows will be able to make this bracelet along with the tutorial. So if you count the number of pins in the left row, you will count 13. If you count 13 pins in the middle row, and you count 13 pins in the right row, you can make this bracelet. But if you have less than 13 pins, you will not be able to make this bracelet. But if you have more than 13 pins, you will be able to make this bracelet as well. You will also need a hook. Any hook will work. I'm going to be using my Rainbow Loom metal tip hook. Then you will also need a clip. Any clip will work as long as it is for rubber band bracelets. And in this tutorial I'm going to be using an S-clip. Then not only will you need all of those things there, but you will also need rubber bands. As you can see here, I have 4 different color rubber bands, and so that obviously means you're going to need 4 different colors to make this bracelet. Now these A rubber bands here, this first color, are the single chain rubber bands that will go through the middle of your bracelet, and in this example they are black, and in this tutorial they will be black as well. Then these B color bands that I have are these inner rubber bands, and they kind of make this circle in the middle of the butterfly and the blossoming butterfly. And in this example they are navy blue from Rainbow Loom, and in this tutorial they will be navy blue from Rainbow Loom as well. Then I also have these C rubber bands, and these C rubber bands are going to be the petals on the blossoming butterfly, and in this example they are jelly turquoise from Rainbow Loom, and they are also jelly turquoise from Rainbow Loom in this tutorial. And finally, these D rubber bands are your wing rubber bands, and as you can see they make the wings on the butterfly and also the blossoming butterfly. And in this example they are jelly purple from Rainbow Loom, and there are also jelly purple from Rainbow Loom in this tutorial. Now I'm going to go ahead and tell you how many of these rubber bands you're going to need. You're going to need about 61 rubber bands in total without your extension, so that's not including an extension. You will need 13 A rubber bands, 18 B rubber bands, 6 C rubber bands, and 24 D rubber bands. So go ahead and get your supplies and use the pause button so that you can do so, and I will see you once you have everything. Alright, as you can see I have my loom, and what we're going to do now is we're going to start placing rubber bands. Now to begin placing rubber bands, you're going to need to have your loom so that the arrow is pointing away from you. So that means I'm over here. Hello! Now the first rubber bands we're going to be placing are our A rubber bands. You will only need 12 out of 13 of the A rubber bands that you have gotten, hopefully. And the 13th A rubber band you will put to the side for later, because we will be using it as a cap band when we get to the looming part of this bracelet. So anyway, these A rubber bands are your single chain rubber bands, and well, that obviously means we're going to be making the single chain part of the bracelet first. So to do this, you're going to start on this first middle pin, and you're going to get a single chain rubber band, and you're going to place it going forwards to this second middle pin. Then, from this second middle pin, you will get another single chain rubber band and place it going from this second middle pin to this third middle pin. Then, with another single chain rubber band, you're going to place it going from this third middle pin to this fourth middle pin. And you're just going to place single chain rubber bands going up the middle row of pins on your loom. So I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward this part of the video so that the actual whole video is not be too long. So use the pause button if you need to. Alright, well, as you can see, I have now finished placing the single chain rubber bands that go all the way up the middle pin bar on my loom. So here's what you should have on your loom once you finish. And that is what you should have. And now what we're going to do is we're going to get our B rubber bands. And these rubber bands are our inner rubber bands, and they are the rubber bands we're going to be placing next. So get your B rubber bands, and in this tutorial they are going to be navy blue from Rainbow Loom, and the inner rubber bands are these rubber bands here that are kind of in the middle of these butterflies and the blossoming butterfly. You make this little circle here. As in this tutorial, they are going to be navy blue. So anyway, to place these inner rubber bands, you're going to start on the second middle pin. Make sure the arrow is still pointing away from you. Now, to begin, starting on the second middle pin, you're going to place an inner rubber band going outwards to this second left pin. Then, with another inner rubber band, you're going to place it now going from this second left pin to this third left pin. Then, from this third left pin, you will get another inner rubber band and place it going inwards from this third left pin to this fourth middle pin. Now, we're going to do this exact same thing we did here on the left, now on the right. You're going to get an inner rubber band, and you're going to place it going from this second middle pin to this second right pin. Then, from this second right pin, you will get another inner rubber band, and place it going forwards to this third right pin. And then, with another inner rubber band, you're going to place it going inwards from this third right pin to this fourth middle pin. Now you should have a hexagon shape on your loom that looks like this. Now, we're going to do this exact same thing, but now we need to find the sixth middle pin on our looms. Now, once you find the sixth middle pin on your loom, we are going to start placing more inner rubber bands, starting now on the sixth middle pin. So to begin, you're going to get an inner rubber band, and you're going to place it now going from the sixth middle pin to the sixth left pin. Then you will get another inner rubber band, and you will place it going from this sixth left pin to this seventh left pin. Then, get another inner rubber band, and you're going to place it, now going from this 7th left pin to this 8th middle pin. And now you should have this half of a hexagon shape on the left side of your loom. Now we're going to do this exact same thing we did here on the left, now on the right. You're going to get another inner rubber band, and you're going to place it going outwards from the 6th middle pin to this 6th right pin. Then, from the 6th right pin to the 7th right pin, you're going to get another inner rubber band and place it going across those two pins. So the 6th right pin and the 7th right pin. And then, with another inner rubber band, you're going to place it going inwards from the 7th right pin to this 8th middle pin. And now you should have a second hexagon shape on your loom, and here's what that should look like. Now you should have 6 more inner rubber bands or C rubber bands left, and what we're going to do is we're going to place one more hexagon on our loom. Now we need to find the 10th middle pin on our looms. Now once you find this 10th middle pin, remember this pin because we are now going to start placing inner rubber bands on this 10th middle pin. Now to begin, we're going to do the exact same thing we've done for the previous two hexagons. We're going to start on this 10th middle pin, and we're going to place an inner rubber band going outwards to this 10th left pin. Then, with another inner rubber band, you're going to place it going from this 10th left pin to this 11th left pin. And finally, with another inner rubber band, you're going to place it going inwards from this 11th left pin to this 12th middle pin. Now you should have half of a hexagon on your loom that is on the left side. And now with your final 3 rubber bands, you're going to do this exact same thing you did here on the left, now on the right. So starting on this 10th middle pin, you're going to place an inner rubber band going outwards to this 10th right pin. Then from this 10th right pin to this 11th right pin, you will place another inner rubber band. And then with your last inner rubber band, you're going to place it going inwards from this 11th right pin to this 12th middle pin. Now you have finished placing inner rubber bands, and you should have a 3rd hexagon on your loom. Now we need to get our C rubber bands, or our petal rubber bands, because we will now be placing these on our loom. So get your C rubber bands, and these rubber bands are also going to be called the petal rubber bands because they will be the petals on our blossoming butterfly, and in this example they are jelly turquoise from Rainbow Loom, and they will also be jelly turquoise from Rainbow Loom in this tutorial. Now, to place these petal rubber bands, you need to find the 2nd hexagon on your loom, and the 2nd hexagon starts on the 6th middle pin on your loom. Make sure the arrow on your loom is still pointing away from you. So, with a petal rubber band, you will start on the 6th middle pin, and you will place it going outwards to this 6th left pin. Then, on the 6th left pin, you will get another petal rubber band, and place it going from the 6th left pin to the 7th left pin. Or another petal rubber band going inwards to this 8th middle pin. And then with your final 3 petal rubber bands, you will do this exact same thing you did on the left, now on the right. Starting on the 6th middle pin, you will place a petal rubber band going outwards to the 6th right pin. Then on this 6th right pin, you will place another petal rubber band going forwards to this 7th right pin. And finally, with your last petal rubber band, you will place it going inwards from the 7th right pin to this 8th middle pin. And as you can see, I still have petal rubber bands on top of my inner rubber bands. So now we are done placing petal rubber bands. Now you need to get out your D rubber bands, or in other words, your wing rubber bands. We will be placing these on our looms next. Alright, now get out your D color rubber bands because we are now going to begin to place these. The D rubber bands are also known as the wing rubber bands. And here on this example, the wing rubber bands make the wings on the butterflies and the blossoming butterfly. And in this example, they are jelly purple from Rainbow Loom, and they will also be jelly purple from Rainbow Loom in this tutorial. Now, to begin placing these rubber bands, you need to find the first hexagon on your loom. The first hexagon on your loom starts on the 2nd middle pin, and make sure that the arrow on your loom is pointing away from you. Now, before we do begin placing these wing rubber bands, you need to know that all of the wings are going to be double rubber bands. So that means every wing is going to be made up of 2 rubber bands put together. So yes. Alright, so now we can begin. You may also want to get your hook for this step, because if you've made the blossoming butterfly or the butterfly chain butterfly, then you would know why you're getting out your hook. Now, to begin, you're going to start on the 2nd middle pin, and what you're going to do is you're going to place 2 wing rubber bands going outwards from the 2nd middle pin to the 2nd left pin. Then, what you're going to do is you're going to grab the side of the rubber bands that is closest to this 3rd middle pin. Now, you can get your hook out for this step if you would like to use it. And the other option is to just use your fingers, but I prefer to use my hook. So you grab this side that's closest to this 3rd middle pin, and then you pull that side inwards to that 3rd middle pin. And now you should get this triangle shape on your loom, and here's what it looks like. And now we're going to do this exact same thing we did here on the left, now on the right. You're going to get 2 wing rubber bands, and you're going to place them going from the 2nd middle pin to the 2nd right pin. Then, with your hook or your fingers, you're going to grab the side of the rubber band that is closest to this 3rd middle pin, and you're going to pull that side inwards to this 3rd middle pin. Now you should create another triangle shape now on the right side of your loom. Here's what it should look like. Now you're going to do the exact same thing you did here on the bottom, now on the top. But now we're going to start on this 3rd left pin and place 2 wing rubber bands going inwards to this 4th middle pin. So the wing rubber bands should be going inward, or this 3rd left pin to this 4th middle pin. Then, with your hook or your fingers, you're going to grab this side of the rubber band that is closest to this 3rd middle pin, and you're going to pull that side going inwards to that 3rd middle pin. Now you should get another triangle shape on the top left half of your hexagon, And here's what it should look like. And now we're going to do the exact same thing we did here on the left, now on the right. You're going to get 2 wing rubber bands, and you're going to place them now going inwards from this 3rd right pin to this 4th middle pin. Now, with your hook or your fingers, you're going to grab this side of the rubber band that is closest to this 3rd middle pin, and you're going to pull that side inwards to this 3rd middle pin. Now you have finished placing wing rubber bands for this first hexagon, and here's what it should look like on your loom. Now, we're going to place wing rubber bands on the second hexagon on our looms. And the second hexagon starts on the 6th middle pin, and make sure that the arrow on your loom is still pointing away from you. So, your second hexagon starts on the 6th middle pin, and it also has these petal rubber bands on it as well. And you might want to push those rubber bands down because you're about to add some more. And there we go. So now we're going to do the same thing with these wing rubber bands we're about to place as we've done for the first hexagon. But now we're going to start on the 6th middle pin. Now we're going to do the same thing we've done before. You're going to get 2 wing rubber bands, and you're going to place them now going outwards from the 6th middle pin to the 6th left pin. Then, with your hook or your fingers, you're now going to grab the side of the rubber band that is closest to this 7th middle pin. Then, you're going to pull this side inwards to the 7th middle pin, and this should create a triangle shape on your loom, or on your hexagon. And here's what this should look like. Now we're going to do this exact same thing we did on the left, now on the right. We're going to get 2 wing rubber bands, and we're going to place them going outwards from the 6th middle pin to this 6th right pin. Then, with your hook or your fingers, you're going to grab this side of the rubber band that is closest to this 7th middle pin, and then you're going to pull this side inwards to this 7th middle pin. And this will create another triangle shape on the right side of your hexagon. Now here's what that should look like. Now we're going to do this exact same thing we did here on the bottom, now on the top, but we're now going to start on this 8th middle pin. And what we're going to do is, with 2 wing rubber bands, we're going to place them going from this 8th middle pin to this 7th left pin. Then with your hook or your fingers, you're going to grab this side of the rubber band that is closest to the 7th middle pin. Now we're going to do the exact same thing we did on the left, now on the right. We're going to get 2 wing rubber bands, and we're going to place them going outwards from this 8th middle pin to this 7th right pin. Then, with your hook or your fingers, you're going to grab this side of the rubber band that is closest to the 7th middle pin, and you're going to pull this side inwards to this 7th middle pin. And this should create another triangle shape on the top right half of your hexagon. Now I'm going to go ahead, and now you are done placing wing rubber bands on your second hexagon, and here's what that should look like. Now, now that we've placed our wing rubber bands on our first hexagon and our second hexagon, we need to place the wing rubber bands on our third hexagon. Now I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward this part of the video so that the actual whole video is not way too long. And yeah, so I'm going to fast forward this video here so that the video's not too long, and all we're doing is basically placing wing rubber bands on our third hexagon the same way as we have done for the second and the first. So use the pause button if you need to, and I will see you once you have finished placing wing rubber bands. Alright, well, as you can see, I have placed all of the wing rubber bands that I need to on my third hexagon, and now I have all of my decolor rubber bands on my loom, or in other words, my wing rubber bands. And these two wing rubber bands that are here in this top right corner are the last two rubber bands that you should need to place on your loom at all, with the exception of this final single chain rubber band that will be a cap band. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to put this to the side because we're going to be placing this, and we're also going to need to get our hooks because now we are going to start the looming process. But before we do, here's what you should have on your loom. Alright, so there's what you should have on your loom. Get your hooks, or your hook, and your single chain rubber band that you have left over, and get ready to loom. Now, to begin looming your bracelet, you're going to need to make sure that the arrow on your loom is now pointing towards you. So as you can see, my arrow is pointing this way, and I'm over here. Hello. And yes, so now, to begin, make sure the arrow on your loom is pointing towards you. And we're going to start on this first middle pin. We're going to need to first make a cap band for this first middle pin so we can begin to loom. And to make a cap band, you're going to take the rubber band you wish to make a cap band, twist it into an 8 or an infinity sign, then fold it like a book back on top of itself, and now it looks like that you have 2 rubber bands instead of 1. But remember, this is 1 rubber band. Now with this cap band that you have just made, you're going to put it on this first middle pin. There we go. And now we can get our hooks and begin to loom. To begin looming, we're going to start on this first middle pin, and what we're going to do is pull back this cap band that we've just placed with our hook and grab the rubber band that is underneath of the cap band. Then we're going to hold the cap band on this first middle pin so that it does not come off, and this rubber band that we now have on our hook, we're going to loom forwards to the second middle pin. Looming this single chain rubber band forwards brings you to your first hexagon on your loom. And looming these hexagons pretty simple and is very easy to understand what you're supposed to do. And what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to loom only the inner rubber bands on this hexagon. You will not be looming the wing rubber bands at all. So the wing rubber bands will stay where they are, and the only thing that will be loomed are the inner rubber bands and also the single chain rubber bands later on. First we're going to be looming all the inner rubber bands. And to loom the inner rubber bands, you're going to start on the second middle pin, and you're going to pull back the top 4 rubber bands. Now the top 4 rubber bands should all be wing rubber bands. Then you're going to grab the top rubber band underneath of those wing rubber bands, and you're going to loom it outwards to the 3rd left pin. So to this 3rd left pin, you will loom this top inner rubber band here. Now that we are on the left, this 3rd left pin, what we're going to do is we're going to loom now this inner rubber band here. And to loom this inner rubber band, we're going to pull back the rubber bands on this 3rd left pin, then grab the bottom rubber band and loom it forwards to this 4th left pin. Now we're going to loom this rubber band, this inner rubber band, inwards to this 4th middle pin, and to do that, on this 4th left pin, you will pull back the top rubber bands, grab this bottom rubber band, and loom it inwards to this 4th middle pin. And now you should have loomed half of your inner rubber bands on this first hexagon, and this should all be on the left side. So here's what you should have on your loom. And now we're going to do this exact same thing we did on the left, now on the right. We're going to come back to the 2nd middle pin, and we're going to pull back the top 4 rubber bands, or in other words, all of your wing rubber bands. Then you will grab the top rubber band underneath of your wing rubber bands, and this rubber band should be an inner rubber band, and this inner rubber band is going to be loomed outwards to this 3rd right pin. Now that we are on this 3rd right pin, we're going to now loom this inner rubber band here, and to loom it, we're just going to pull back these top rubber bands, grab the very bottom rubber band, and loom it forwards to this 4th middle pin. Now that we're on this 4th right pin, we're going to pull back all the top rubber bands once again, and we're going to now grab this bottom rubber band, and we're going to loom this inner rubber band inwards to this 4th middle pin. I do believe I accidentally called this right pin here the 4th left middle pin, but this is actually the 4th right pin. Well, anyway, now you should have all of your inner rubber bands on your first hexagon loomed. And here is what it should look like. Now, what we're going to do, now that all of the inner rubber bands are loomed, we are now going to loom the single chain rubber bands that go through this first hexagon. And to do this, we're going to return to the 2nd middle pin, and we're going to now pull back all of the wing rubber bands once again, and we're going to grab this bottom rubber band, and this very bottom rubber band is a single chain rubber band, and what we're going to do is we're going to loom it forwards to this 3rd middle pin. Then once on this 3rd middle pin, we're going to pull back the top rubber bands, grab this bottom rubber band, and this bottom rubber band should be a single chain rubber band, and what we're going to do is we're going to loom it forwards to this 4th middle pin. Now, looming this single chain rubber band on the 4th middle pin is a little bit more difficult than looming the other single chain rubber bands, except for on the 8th pin and the 12th pin, because there are more rubber bands for this single chain rubber band to resist, so that it can be loomed forwards to this 5th middle pin. And because of that, I'm going to be giving you a few extra seconds after I loom my single chain rubber band so that you can catch up, and so you don't rush yourself and break this next rubber band. And that would not be good if you broke that rubber band. So, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to loom this. To loom this rubber band, all you do is you're going to pull back all the top rubber bands on this fourth middle pin. Then you're going to grab this bottom rubber band and you're going to just slowly and carefully, very patiently, loom it forwards to this fifth middle pin. Now, just because I just now loomed my single chain rubber band on this fourth middle pin forwards does not mean you need to hurry up. I'm going to go ahead and give you a few extra seconds in case if you need them. Alright, I've given you your few extra seconds. If you still need to continue looming this rubber band forwards, then use the pause button, but I'm going to continue now. So now we are on this fifth middle pin, and all we got to do to loom here is just grab this single chain rubber band and just loom it forwards to the sixth middle pin, and this will lead you to your second hexagon. Now, the second hexagon is a blossoming butterfly, and looming this second hexagon is the same as looming the first hexagon. You will not be looming any of your wing rubber bands or your petal rubber bands. As you can see, these jelly turquoise, they're these petal rubber bands. But you will be looming only your inner rubber bands. So you will pretty much ignore these wing rubber bands and these petal rubber bands on the second hexagon because they will not be loomed at all during this tutorial, or when you make this bracelet. And looming this hexagon here is the same as looming the first, but now you're going to start on the sixth middle pin, and now what you're going to do is you're going to pull back the top 6 rubber bands. And these top 6 rubber bands should all be wing rubber bands and petal rubber bands. And then you're going to grab this top rubber band underneath of the rubber bands you just pulled back, and this should be an inner rubber band. And what we're going to do is just loom it outwards to the left. So now it should be on this 7th left pin. And now that we're on this left side of the loom, or on the 7th left pin, we're going to now just pull back these top rubber bands, grab the very bottom rubber band, and it should be an inner rubber band, and we're going to loom this inner rubber band forwards to this 8th left pin. Now that we're on this 8th left pin, we're going to do the same thing as we did on the 7th, just pull back all the top rubber bands, grab this very bottom rubber band, and this should be an inner rubber band, and goodness, we're going to loom it inwards to this 8th middle pin. Ugh, the lighting. Alright, and now you should have half of the inner rubber bands on your second hexagon loomed now. And here's what this should look like. And now we're going to do this exact same thing we did here on the left, now on the right. We're going to come back to the 6th middle pin, and we're going to pull back the top 6 rubber bands, and all of these rubber bands should be petal rubber bands or wing rubber bands. And we're going to grab the top rubber band underneath of those rubber bands, and we're going to loom it going outwards to this 7th right pin. Now, the same as we did on the left, on this 7th right pin, we're just going to pull back all the top rubber bands and grab this very bottom rubber band, and this bottom rubber band should be an inner rubber band. And what we're going to do is we're going to loom it forwards to this 8th right pin. And now on this 8th right pin, we're going to do the same thing as we've done on this 8th left pin. we're going to pull back all these top rubber bands once again, grab the very bottom rubber band, and loom it inwards to this 8th middle pin. And now you should be done looming all of the inner rubber bands on your second hexagon. Now we're going to loom these single chain rubber bands that go through the middle of this second hexagon. And to do this, it's pretty much the same as the first hexagon, but now we're going to start on the 6th middle pin. And to loom these single chain rubber bands, you're going to pull back the top 6 rubber bands, or all the top rubber bands, on the 6th middle pin. Grab this very bottom rubber band, and it should be a single chain rubber band, and you're going to loom it forwards to this 7th middle pin. Then on this 7th middle pin, you're going to pull back all the top rubber bands once again, grab this very bottom rubber band, and loom it forwards to this 8th middle pin. And now this single chain rubber band on this 8th middle pin is pretty much the same as looming the single chain rubber band on this 4th middle pin, only now there's a few more rubber bands on this pin than there are on the 4th. And I will be doing the same thing as I've done on the first hexagon. I will give you a few extra seconds after I have loomed this single chain rubber band forwards so that you do not need to rush yourself as much and will reduce your chance of breaking this rubber band. But to loom this single chain rubber band on your 8th middle pin, you're just going to pull back all the top rubber bands, grab this very bottom rubber band, and I did not pull back all the top rubber bands. There we go. Then grab this very bottom rubber band, which should be a single chain rubber band, and you're going to very carefully loom it forwards, and also very slowly loom this single chain rubber band forwards to this 9th middle pin. Now, do not rush yourself because I've just finished looming my single chain rubber band. I'm going to go ahead and give you a few extra seconds in case if you need them, so that you can have some time to loom this single chain rubber band. Alright, I've given you your few extra seconds. If you still need to continue looming this single chain rubber band forwards, then just use the pause button. But now I'm going to continue, and we are now on this 9th middle pin, and to loom this single chain rubber band on the 9th middle pin, you just grab it with your hook and loom it forwards to this 10th middle pin. Now this brings you to your 3rd hexagon, or in other words your last hexagon on your loom, and this last hexagon is the same as your first hexagon. And I'm going to be fast forwarding the looming for this hexagon because it is the same looming this as it is basically for your second hexagon, and is exactly the same as looming the rubber bands on your first hexagon. So if you are not sure of how to loom this 3rd hexagon here, then just go back to the part of the video where I tell you how to loom the inner rubber bands on your first hexagon. And I'm just going to be going ahead and fast forwarding myself looming these inner rubber bands on this 3rd hexagon, and also the single chain rubber bands. And yes, so I'm going to be fast forwarding the video. Use the pause button if you need to, and I will see you once you have finished looming the rubber bands on your 3rd hexagon.
Alright, well, as you can see, I have finished looming all of the inner rubber bands and also the single chain rubber bands on my third and also my last hexagon on my loom. And as you can see here, I also have loomed this single chain rubber band that was on this 12th middle pin, and now it is on this 13th middle pin. And yeah, so now I'm going to go ahead and show you what your loom should look like once you have finished looming all of the rubber bands that you need to. Alright, so that is what your loom should look like now. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take this bracelet off of our loom. Now to take this bracelet off of our loom, we need to make sure that the arrows on our looms are still pointing towards us, and we're going to come all the way back to this first middle pin, and your first middle pin should have a cap band on it. Now for this step, you can also get your hook, and what we're going to do is, starting on this first middle pin, is we're just going to pull off the rubber bands on every pin, one pin at a time, and we're going to do this until we get to the end of our bracelet, and that is here on this 13th middle pin. And also, we are not going to take the rubber bands off of this 13th middle pin. So as you can see here at the beginning, I'm back here, I'm taking off all of the rubber bands on all of the pins, just one pin at a time, and I'm just slowly making my way up my loom. And I'm going to go ahead and just fast forward the video so that, because this is going to take a little while, and use the pause button if you need to, and I will see you once you have finished taking these rubber bands, except for the rubber bands on this 13th middle pin, off of your loom. Alright, well, as you can see, I have I have not taken the rubber bands off of this 13th middle pin. And what you're going to do to take these rubber bands off your 13th middle pin is you're just going to get your hook, and you're going to slide it into the 13th pin in the middle row, and you're just going to take the rubber bands off of that pin, and make sure that the rubber bands that you've taken off with your hook are still on your hook, like this. Now that we have taken this bracelet off of our loom, we're going to need to make an extension, because this is obviously not long enough to fit around my wrist, and it's more than likely what you've just taken off of your loom is more than likely not long enough to fit around your wrist. So we're going to need to make an extension.
Alright, well, to make an extension for your bracelet, as you can see I have my bracelet here on my hook, you're going to need to choose any two pins on your loom, and in this tutorial I just decided to use these two pins, and you can choose any two pins on your loom as long as they are next to each other, and you can also put your bracelet right on them. And with these two pins that you have chosen, you're going to put this rubber band that is on your hook onto those two pins. And to do this, what you're going to do is you're going to get one end of this rubber band that's on your hook, and you're going to take it off, but do not let go of it. Then the other end of the rubber band that's still on your hook, you're going to hold it on your hook, so that it does not come off. And this other end that you have in your fingers that you're holding, you're going to put it on one of the 2 pins that you have chosen on your loom. And then, with the other end of the rubber band that you have on your hook, you're going to put it on the other pin on your loom that you have chosen. And this pin that you put this end of the rubber band on should be next to the other end of the rubber band on the other pin that you've chosen. And as you can see, this rubber band is stretching across these 2 pins. So it does not matter what 2 pins you choose on your loom, as long as you can do this with this rubber band here on them, then you can use them. Now, we're going to be making a single chain extension, and for this you will need more single chain color rubber bands, or A color rubber bands, and the number of these rubber bands that you will need depends on the person this bracelet is for. So I just have these single chain rubber bands here, and what you will need also is your hook. Now, to make this single chain extension, what you're going to do is you're going to get one of the single chain rubber bands that you have gotten out, and you're going to place it going across the same 2 pins as this rubber band that you have just taken off of your hook and put on these same 2 pins. So you're going to place another single chain rubber band on top of this rubber band. Then with your hook, you're going to pull the bottom rubber band up and over the pins that they are on and onto this rubber band that you have just placed on top of it. So here's what that should look like. Then you will get another extension rubber band, and you're going to place it going across the same 2 pins as you have placed the previous extension rubber band. Then you will get your hook again, and you will grab the bottom rubber band and pull both ends of the rubber band over the pins that they are on. So now this rubber band that you've just loomed is on this rubber band that you have just placed. So as you can see, my extension is already starting to form, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do this a few more times. To continue your single chain extension, you will get another extension rubber band and place it going across the same 2 pins as this rubber band that you have previously placed. Then you will grab the bottom rubber band and pull both ends of this rubber band over the pins that they are on. So now this rubber band that you've just loomed is on this rubber band here that was on top of it. Then once again, you get another extension rubber band and you place it going on across the same 2 pins as this rubber band that you have just placed before. Then with your hook, you will grab the bottom rubber band and pull both ends of this rubber band over the pins they are on. So now this extension rubber band is on the rubber band that was above it. And you're just going to go ahead and continue making your extension following the same pattern until you've made your extension long enough so that your bracelet will fit around your wrist. I'm going to go ahead and just fast forward the video here so that you're not stuck watching me doing this for 10 minutes, and I will see you once I have finished making my extension for my bracelet. Also, use the pause button if you need to. Alright, well, as you can see here, my extension now makes my bracelet long enough to fit around my wrist. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and show you how to put your clip onto both ends of your bracelet so that you can wear it. Now, to do this, you're going to need your clip, whatever clip you're using. I am using an S clip. It's backwards, I think. And you will also need your hook, and you will also, of course, need the two ends of your bracelet. So the end of your extension and also your cap band. Now, to put your clip onto both ends of this bracelet, what you're going to do is first deal with this extension here, or yes, this extension rubber band. And what you're going to do with this extension rubber band is you're going to grab one side of this extension rubber band with your hook and bring it over to the other side of your extension rubber band. And this rubber band should now be on one pin like this. Now, with your hook, you're going to slide your hook into this pin with the extension rubber band on it, and you're going to pull the extension rubber band that's on that pin back to another pin on your loom. So now your extension rubber band should be stretching across these two pins again. Here's this. Now you're going to get your clip, whatever clip you're using, and you're going to slide it onto this now stretched out extension rubber band. Alright, as you can see, I've got mine onto these rubber bands, or onto this rubber band. And now what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead, once your clip is on this extension rubber band, is just pull this rubber band off of the pins it is on, and your clip should be on now one end of your bracelet, or in other words, your extension. So on the end of your extension, you should have your clip. Now we're going to put your clip on the other end of your the other end of your bracelet, and this other end is your cap band. Now to place the clip on your cap band, you're going to do pretty much the same thing as you've done for this extension rubber band here. You're going to put your cap band on one pin, then with your hook, you're going to go into this pin with your cap band on it, and pull this cap band back to another pin on your loom. So now this cap band is stretched out, and that makes it easier for us to put our clips onto now our cap band. Sorry if my hand gets in the way. Alright, and there we go. We now have a clip on our cap band. And now what we're going to do is, once our clip is on our cap band, is take our cap band off of the pins, put our loom to the side, and now your clip should be attached to both ends of your bracelet. So now what you can do is put on your bracelet, and bam. So as you can see here, I am now wearing my bracelet. And you may need to adjust the wings a little bit for some parts of this bracelet because they might be a little bit bunched inside, or just bunched up. Might need to pull the wing rubber bands out some. Also, same for these petal rubber bands on the blossoming butterfly. Then you can put it on, and there we go. I now have my bracelet. And now it is time for the outro. So, I hope right now that you're wearing your bracelet right now, because, of course, if you got to this part of the video, then you've obviously made your bracelet successfully, which is what I hope happened for you. Also, I hope you're enjoying your bracelet. As you can see, it's this bracelet here, not Let this thing out of here. But if you're not enjoying your bracelet, I'm not sure why you made this in the first place, but whatever. And also, I hope you enjoyed watching, and I would also like to thank you for watching. And that's pretty much all I have to say. So, thanks for watching, and bye!